Hey guys, it's Jack. I want to tell you guys about the sponsor for today's show. It's Mando. Mando makes a whole series of male grooming products. They are unique in that they are a deodorant that you can use all over your body, on armpits if you like, but also wherever else you may deem necessary. And I have been using these products for about 3 months now. I've been using the body wash. It's bourbon leather. I've been using their bar of soap, which I really enjoyed, and also their deodorant. And so I exercise a lot and get very sweaty, so I need a deodorant that's going to do the job. And Mando has come through for me. You know, the body wash was great. I actually used all of that. Need to reorder some more. But the bar of soap was also very cool. It was very smooth, actually. So I hope you guys will go and check them out. They have a starter kit that's up there, and they have a special deal for Team House viewers. So the starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code TEAMHOUSE at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Special operations, covert ops, espionage, the Team House, with your hosts, Jack Murphy and David Park.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 339 of the Team House. I'm Dave Park, here with Jack Murphy. Tonight, we're welcoming a good friend of ours, Erik Lawrence. Erik is former Special Forces and security contractor extraordinaire. And we're also going to talk a bit about his book, Fire Support, A Veteran's Guide to Health, Healing, and Life Beyond Service, which is a phenomenal reference guide for all things mental, physical, and kind of spiritual health, So anyway, Erik, thanks and welcome to the show.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. It's always weird to be on here where most of my buddies have already been on your couch in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, you kind of, they set the stage for you.
Oh, right.
And you're joining us from the beautiful, where are you right now?
I'm out in the middle of nowhere, Arizona.
Okay, looks nice.
Yeah, water fasting, like a super genius.
In Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many days have you been on this water fast?
I'm on day 8 right now.
Wow. Well,
I do it once a year.
And we will. And how long will it last for you?
I'll probably get hungrier because I'm bored around day 10.
Okay.
Yeah, you lose all your hunger, so it's not a bad deal, but you just miss flavor.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that because I know that that's kind of part of the detox and everything else that, you champion. Let's talk a bit about you to start out with. What's your origin story? How did you grow up and what led you to the military?
Well, my favorite line from a Steve Martin movie, I was born a poor black child, but I was born in West Virginia, 70s. Good, rough time to grow up there. And you grew up hard and quick. So as soon as I could, I joined what we call the Army and ran away from there. So, it's a great place to learn all your outdoor skills and makes the Q course fairly simple at that point in time. Because we know what other selection courses are run right there in my backyard. So it was a good place to grow up.
And when you went into the Army, did you know about Special Forces or was it just you wanted to go to the Army?
Well, that's where I had a smart neighbor who was in the 19th group. And I went straight in. So I had actually never been in another unit. I was in 19th when I was 17 years old. Got tabbed at 21, E6 at 21, and then said, I'm going to first group.
What year did you join the
19th,
Army?
wasn't ecstatic about that. Say again?
What year did you join the Army?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what year was that?
1987.
Oh, okay.
87.
Okay, interesting.
So you went through SFAS and the Q as part of 2nd and 19th?
Correct. Yeah, it was like selection number 4. There were like ham sandwiches, and it was atrocious. I mean, they really hadn't figured out what they were doing yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as soon as you got your long tab, you pretty much bailed on the guard and went to first group?
Yeah, all the old guys. I mean, my whole team almost was Vietnam guys.
Yeah.
They're like, get out of here. You know, this is fine. You can come back.
Yeah.
You know, and you're a 21-year-old E6 in 19th group back in the 90s. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I immediately rolled into first group there.
Yeah. And then what was that like for you going to first group, going out to Washington State?
Yeah, I loved Washington. I was on a mountain team, which is the best spot in the world to be on a mountain team. You know, we had no money. We had no budget. But the climbing team, if they said, hey, just come back in a month or two, we would.
Yeah.
You know, when we run out of beer money. But we got a lot of training in, a lot of hiking in, a lot of really good mountain ops.
Yeah.
Because you have the whole West Coast there to work on.
Yeah.
And then I rolled over to a SOT team. It's always like CQB. Everybody likes blowing things up. Hence why all my TBIs are helping me right now. Did that for quite a while. Some, you know, great teammates, obviously. And then we got tired of going to Korea every trip because the 2nd Battalion of first group was the Korea Battalion. I transferred over to 1st in Okinawa. Then my luck and everybody else's 2nd Battalion's luck that showed up in 1st Battalion, they changed the mission to Korea. So our first trips, we're all just looking at each other with a Glock in our mouth or a Beretta in our mouth going, really? Let's find a curb here, you know, and hope we run into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just fucking bad karma, man.
In first group, there was like one battalion that was like Korea and Alaska, right? And then the other was like Thailand
Correct.
Every trip.
That was us. Yeah, they had all of Asia, and we had Korea. Yeah, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. You know, the nice places.
Right.
You know, I got frostbite in first group. It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I was on the SIF there in Okinawa, which was obviously a good time. I really did well there like that. Did a lot of the breaching, and man, we've really got to get smarter about breaching, which I hope they are.
Yeah.
Because I spend half my times at TBI doctors now.
Yeah.
And breaching is just no joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll definitely talk about that because I think that's a big thing. You know, we've talked about it with Vining.
Chuck O'Connor.
Yeah, Chuck O'Connor and Vining, like, you know, the overpressure that none of us knew. Like, we had
no idea.
We've all eaten like hundreds of door breaches.
And we'd see how close we could get.
Yeah, yeah.
Super geniuses. Yeah.
So was, you know, you mentioned being on an SOT team and then going to SIF. That was pretty much a natural progression, right?
Correct.
That the SOT became the SIF.
Yeah. I mean, SOT is kind of like Sephardic Light. It's the same course, just longer.
Yeah.
And obviously you got a, you know, command directed mission, which was good. I mean, you know, and all your buds from there, you all went elsewhere, you know, to progress. So it's part of, you know, election.
Yeah. And so what was, you know, from that time that you were in from 87, 88, you know, through your time in, you know, up in Korea and then out in Okinawa and everything, what were, aside from Korea, what were the missions, what was the mission set for first group at that time? Were there
we did
real world?
A lot of FID. A lot of FID. No, even in the SIF, we'd get spun up for something.
Yeah.
But they had cold feet back then. They were scared to get committed. They would make up excuses. You know, if there was a coup somewhere, we'd show up a week later.
Yeah.
Like, okay, B team's been here a week.
Yeah.
You know, don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, it was just really risk averse. It was very annoying,
Yeah.
and pretty much why I wanted to get out.
And so,
Yeah.
around what year was it that you started looking at getting out?
It was 87. Yeah, 87. Or no, sorry. God bless America. 98.
Okay.
98. Yeah, we had Big Mo as our battalion commander, Mo Holland. And I taught him some Army regulations he didn't know, and he wasn't too happy about it. Because I found out you could, if you were not going to re-enlist, you could request a new ETS date. So I did that. And he was not polite about that. But in a week later, he signed it. And he goes, "You'll be back." I said, "Sir, I won't be back." And then after 9/11, I saw him up at, what the hell's that airfield? The big one there in Afghanistan, Dave.
Bagram?
Yeah, Bagram.
Yeah,
I saw him up there. I said, "I told you I wouldn't come back." And he was giggling about it.
But before we go into like post 9/11, like before 9/11, you spent some time in West Africa, right?
Yeah, I left first group summer of '98, and within 2 weeks I was in Sierra Leone.
Oh, okay.
Back then there wasn't very many special contracts like that going around, and you kind of knew everybody that was doing something. You know, after 9/11, everybody and their brother's a pro, you know.
Yeah.
But pre 9/11, I bet there wasn't 100 guys really doing work. And I got hired on to help with a State Department contract where we advised ECOMOG, which is the West African, like NATO or UN force, who was doing the peacekeeping and fighting in Sierra Leone and Liberia. So me and two other Americans, we entertained ourselves there for a couple months, you know, fighting the RAF. And very interesting. A lot of lessons learned. I mean, learned more there in a couple months than I did in group the whole time.
Yeah.
Because the guys we were hanging out with were executive outcomes. I mean, these guys have been fighting since the 70s. And we'd be like, "Hey, let's do it this way." And they're like, "No, we lost like 12 guys in wherever doing that 15 years ago." I'm like, "Okay, well, we won't do that. I'll just shut up and sit here." And very professional. I mean, I saw some of them 20 years later still in wars.
Yeah, yeah.
So just great people, really great people. I still talk to some of them. I mean, Cobus Clausen there in South Africa. He's the Merc of Africa right now, but a great friend of mine. Did Liberia. I mean, quite a bit of work over there.
What was, I have to like ask, like, what was that interface like for you as a State Department contractor with ostensibly, or they were, a South African private military contractor? Because, I mean, officially our government's like, no, we don't approve of that, we don't like that, but...
Well, there was no State Department in Sierra Leone. There was probably one case officer and the three of us. That was it. One time I answered the phone and it was Madeleine Albright. I'm like, "Can I help you?" And she goes, "What's going on over there?" I'm like, I handed the phone off immediately to somebody else. I'm like, I'm not explaining the war of Sierra Leone to Madeleine Albright. Yeah, there was no one there. It was the best war I've ever been in.
Yeah.
It was, you know, there was no amateurs. One time when we had to go rescue the folks from the Liberian embassy, we just showed up at the casino the night before and said, "Who wants to make some extra money tomorrow?" And we had French, South African, British, you name it. It was who's who in the zoo the next morning at the helipad. And we took a rock, drew it out on the hard deck, and went and did it. That's the kind of guys you had back then.
Yeah. How did you guard against war tourism and, you know, guys claiming that they had been French Foreign Legion or this or that?
We saw them. They wouldn't last a day or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would be gone in no time.
Yeah.
There were some always, and they were typically French. So,
It's
but
fascinating.
no, it was a great time. I mean, it was a 9 to 5 war too, so that was very polite. We had Russian crews with MI7s, and they only flew in the daytime.
And I got to ask you then to like finish the story. Like, how did the Liberian embassy rescue go down?
Oh, you've seen the typical State Department employees sometimes. I remember one come running across a hard deck to, you know how the MI7 or MI8s have those little steps on it. When she hit that step, I thought we were going to spark rotors. And it was just like, God bless America, It was entertainment, man. And we had it all secured and taken care of. But just you can't make some of this shit up. And we left the Marines, but we had to come back and get them. And I wish we'd had videos back then. Probably shouldn't have. But if we would have, that would just been a reel you would have played and had done beer shots.
Yeah. And so we roll into 9/11, and are you still kind of working under the same umbrella, the same, security style contract and whatnot?
Yeah, at the time I had a security company, and I had the Blackheart International Logistics Company. So I would do different Iraq and Afghanistan contracts, with varying roles. A lot of protection, a lot of advising, and tons of logistical support. That was the main avenue there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that for years. Did rifle manufacturing. We got into way too many things, but that's kind of, you were chasing the dollar at the time because that was the heyday of contracting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so were you involved with like Afghanistan as soon as that kicked off, and then Iraq as soon as that kicked off? Were you kind of focused on one theater?
Yeah, I did a quick stint training up the air marshals. They got a whole bunch of us pistol guys to immediately go out to Artesia and start tuning up the air marshals. So I did that for a couple months while clearances were getting stood up. As soon as that happened, I was in Afghanistan probably summer of 2002, and starting to do work there for a couple of years before the Iraq war kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the time to be there before it got too crazy.
Yeah.
That was the pleasant time or two, after Iraq kind of time in Afghanistan.
When you say too crazy, do you mean too laden with bureaucracy, or do you? What do you mean by too crazy? When you say too crazy, do you mean too laden with bureaucracy, or?
Correct.
Yeah.
And you could get away with anything at the time,
Yeah.
If you needed a badge, you made the badge. Next slide.
Yeah.
you got shit done,
Yeah.
And then years later, I'm like, we need a new war. This is just obnoxious, and you just couldn't get anything accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't participate in that. And
Yeah.
oh hell, speaking of that, I forgot I did 7 months in Haiti before that. You talk about not getting anything done. It was Groundhog Day every day. Watching the charities fleece their pockets, It's just bureaucracy and corruption is disgusting. And we both, all of us have seen that too many times.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild. You mentioned Bagram, and it's wild, seeing, Disney Drive, for instance, go from kind of the Wild West, right, to people getting chewed out for not wearing safety belts, and
they took the entire garrison overseas.
Yeah. First sergeants out there writing speeding tickets for people on their little gators. Like it's like is this war? Is what's going on here?
Well, Dave, I think that's how we won it, right?
Right.
Oh wait.
Right.
No,
right.
I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, everybody just waits us out because they know our bureaucracy and bullshit will do their battle for them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, never destroy or never interrupt an enemy that's busy destroying himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just wait us out.
Yeah.
And you and I knew that. You knew they were going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not good at UW.
No, we don't. It doesn't brief well. It doesn't.
No,
it
it's boring.
doesn't. The PowerPoints just don't. If you can't talk about how many bodies you stacked or this or that,
Yep.
who cares about it? What village was stabilized? What are the
Yeah.
metrics
Yeah.
for that?
No, that's why I love SF, because we can go in there and fix all that and people not know we did it,
Yeah.
you know, because we'll trick them into it. I don't
Yeah.
care how. Trick them, pay them, whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
But we don't have to heavy hammer them all the time. You know,
Yeah.
all we did was make rebels. I used
Yeah.
to stop the guys all the time for making more rebels.
Yeah.
And we constantly would do it.
Yeah. So, you spent, you did Haiti, you did Afghanistan, and then I'm assuming that with BHI, Iraq kicks off, and you guys are involved in that too. Then.
Yeah, almost as soon as it kicked off, I was over there organizing that, trying to, work with the Bremer administration, doing all that because they were new to everything. Also, it's like we hadn't been in a war in a while.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm a big SOP guy. I love SOPs. So I was over there pimping how to set stuff up quick. And we already had all the logistical, trail figured out. So it was pretty easy. So I scored a couple of details over there, to run those and, helped out with some other details. And just, great guys. I mean, you find any kind of work, you kind of stay with the bunch.
Yeah.
It's the guys you grew up with in the military.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get paid to drive around with machine guns with them, it's like, sure, let's go.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, guys? Today's episode is sponsored by Lucy Nicotine. It's 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Lucy Breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra little surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can't be broken and open to release extra flavor and hydration. Set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. I've been rocking these for the last couple of weeks. They sent us a bunch, and it's pretty dope. I was screwing around with the mango, but now I've gone to the espresso. So I've been dabbling in a bunch of different flavors. So right now I'm super hot on the espresso one. It's really tasty and delicious. I'm a lightweight. I use 2%. You can get hardcore. They have a ton of different levels of nicotine. If you're a more hardcore person, you can go for the higher ones. I have a sensitive system. My mom always used to tell me that. So I go 2%. And I rock it, whenever I'm feeling a little stressed out, a little whatever, after a meal or something like that, I'll throw in a little pouch, and it's freaking awesome. I love Lucy. You would love Lucy too. Do us a favor. Go to lucy.co/house and use the promo code HOUSE to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy. If you change your mind, so you can send it back, no sweat. Again, that's lucy.co. Use the code HOUSE to get 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Thanks, guys.
If you sleep hot at night, you know just how disruptive it can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and even cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts with your body temperature, every GhostBed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firmer option with exceptional support, your GhostBed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a GhostBed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for a 101 nights risk-free and make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping and most items ship within 24 hours. If you're not sure which GhostBed is for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get your personalized recommendation, or reach out to their friendly team of sleep experts for all the help you need. Even better, Team House listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/house and use code HOUSE at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/house with code HOUSE at checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide. And if you're not in the market for a mattress, check out their pillows, their bedding. They have all kinds of great stuff there. So thanks to GhostBed, and check them out.
and I mean, some legends. Now it's funny to see the folks on your podcast once in a while. I'm like, they're heroes.
Yeah.
And folks have no idea what they've really done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I think that, when I went out to the 2nd Battalion 50th anniversary, like one of the young Rangers there, because we've been going like 5 years now, right? So a young Ranger is like, yeah, I watched your show all through high school, which is crazy
Really?
to me. Yeah, and it's like, that's why I
funny.
went in, like listening to all these Rangers and all these soft guys and their stories. And it's the way we would have eaten up the MACV
Yeah.
SOG and
True.
and the Green Beret and and then I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And he goes, yeah, we haven't done a single combat deployment. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, bro.
Sorry, man.
that's hard to walk around battalion that way.
Yeah, right. But yeah,
Especially that bunch.
it is fascinating. I think a lot of times,
I just saw Greg Birch took over. I just saw that little note. If you
Took over?
remember him?
He was
Yeah.
my command sergeant major at 375.
Yeah. I think he just took the whole regiment. So
What?
great guy. Yeah,
He-
I
he-
just
I
saw
mean-
it today.
I mean, he did become the regimental sergeant major, but that was like 2006 or 7 or something.
Oh, I might be dating. I might have hit something wrong. I've been fasting, so
Okay,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
no
couple
worries.
TBIs.
yeah,
Sergeant Major Birch
Facts
is
don't
is
matter.
an amazing guy, though.
Oh, yeah.
But he's out there. He's
Killer.
retired now.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's probably true. Years. I get all those years mixed up. I really do, because I still think I'm like 29.
same. Yeah. And I think another part of that is, I admire people who have like solid memories and remember a lot of very specific things. But for me, it's like kind of like
can't do
one
it.
big green blur,
Yeah. I have to have somebody else mention something, and then it'll spark me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of that I tried to forget. People are like, you remember this guy? I'm like, nope, not at all.
Yeah.
Damn sure
Yeah.
not their last names.
Yeah. So what did you like? When you were in Afghanistan, you thought we need a new war, and then you got a new war. You got Iraq. What was your overall impression of the efforts in Afghanistan, in Iraq, as time progressed, and as you were not only a witness but a participant in these wars?
Yeah, that's the problem. I was going between them, and
Yeah.
I used to always call it the tale of two wars, because incredibly different tactics.
Right.
I mean, there's things you could get away with in Afghanistan, you wouldn't even dare in Iraq.
Right.
You'd get a double stacked AT mine under you. So it was just so hard to go back and forth and shift gears.
Yeah.
Because I considered Afghanistan as fairly civilized compared to Iraq and Syria. So yeah, it was just we weren't ready for prime time on a lot of it, and just too risk averse. There's a time and a place for that, but when something's got to get done, you got to hit them hard, And those were just two distinctly different wars.
Yeah.
And they would send us back and forth between them like they were, a National Guard weekend. I'm like, this is not cool.
And then
And we still didn't learn, I don't think.
And then what was your impression, if you had one, of the ROEs as they started, as they changed?
Yeah. Well, try to deal that with your host nation, So, if you got your host guys helping you or on your detail, what's their idea of an ROE?
Yeah.
So you're totally put in a position that I don't think's attainable or winnable. And truthfully, we just kind of ignored it. And, if your tree fell in the woods, I learned that in Africa.
Yeah. You mentioned that like Africa was an interesting wake-up call for you, where you tried to take, the SF, sort of SOPs into a war with warriors who had been fighting for a long period of time, and they're like, no, like we tried that 15 years ago or whatever. How was that then taking what you had learned in Africa into Afghanistan and Iraq with, with U.S. service members or former U.S. service members who were also going on, not ROEs, but SOPs developed during Vietnam and afterwards?
Oh, I think it greatly helped. I mean, I was light years ahead of the guys.
Yeah.
I always used to tease them like, don't worry, I remember my first war too.
Yeah.
But I was boogered up in Sierra Leone, because I thought I knew my shit. I was just 2 weeks out of group.
Yeah.
And now here's the funny part. When I was flying into Sierra Leone, I didn't know anything about it. It was 2 weeks. I didn't have time to do an area study or even read a book. So I'm in Ivory Coast at a hotel staying to fly the next day. And I'm in a bar eating steak, and I look across and I see a team over there getting littered, drinking out of the op fund. I'm like, okay, they got the little bag. Everybody carries the op fund in,
right.
So I see them drinking out of it, and I finish my meal, and I walk over there. I'm like, where are you jackasses from? They're like, oh, we're third group. We just left Sierra Leone. I'm like, oh, really? Oh. And they sat down and gave me my intel brief, half littered. But they actually, the only time in my life I've heard of such an issue, they were ordered to show up at the airfield at like dark 30 and just leave. They were on a FID there. And they left their weapons and commo. Were ordered to. And when I got there the next day, I got their weapons and commo, and I got in a helicopter. I flew out to the ocean, and I threw it out. So it's the last thing I wanted there. But they left. I've never in my life heard of such an order.
That's bizarre. Yeah. I mean, you're
insane.
saying that they didn't like leave it at the embassy. They left it at like a team house somewhere.
There was no embassy.
Yeah.
They left them with my cutout. Yeah, I had 137s. I'm like, dude, I know how to run a 137, but I know you're not allowed to leave one unattended.
So it was like the gardener was maintaining positive control over the weapons and commo.
The case officer.
Well, that's better than. I was going to say better than nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
that's
I
really
got AKs
weird.
and PKs and Mag 58s. I don't need American weapons in Africa.
Right.
How are you going to feed that?
Right.
So I dumped them in the ocean. I didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Right.
Wow. I mean, did they fly that team out commercial, and that's why they couldn't travel?
Yeah.
With that? Okay.
Well, no, they C-130'd them. Sorry. No, they had C-130 show them up like in the middle of the night, left their host nation.
Dude.
Very irritated.
Yeah. Wow.
And they showed up in the Ivory Coast and started drinking.
As one does.
Typical team back in the day. Yeah.
It makes you wonder. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, because that was a State Department decision, right? That's not.
Yeah.
Nobody at the group level is saying, "Hey, leave your sensitive items behind."
No.
Yeah,
never heard of it in my life.
Yeah, you're right. That's something that like the State Department decided without like considering all of the ramifications of like, no, get them out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. No, it was strange. Every day over there I could write a book about.
Yeah.
Every day. The best one. This is the best one of the whole trip. We're me and my buddy were gassing up the helicopters one day over at the main international airport. They offload on the little stairs because they don't have terminals. And here comes a E1 Marine or E2 Marine walking off there with his duffel bag and his greens. I'm like, John, I think he's in the wrong place. And we go over there and get him. He thought he was going to Liberia. I'm like, well, you're in Sierra Leone, actually. And you can't get there from here. So we kept him for a week. And we made him work with us. And I would love to meet that young Marine and get his story because it would be epic.
That's wild.
He didn't want to leave.
I bet.
We had him in civilian clothes, carrying a Mag 58, partying every night, flying every day. I don't even know his name. I don't even remember his name. He can call me anytime.
How did you guys manage? I mean, did he manage to? Obviously, like whoever was waiting for him in Liberia thought he was AWOL.
Well, we called the embassy.
So you hooked him
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
We took him later.
Yeah.
We weren't going there all the time. So
Yeah.
it was like a week and a half later, we made a special trip and took him to the embassy down there before we evacuated it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, we let them know.
Yeah.
Because we talked to the embassy all the time down there because they were scared.
That's wild. Yeah, I'd love to hear that kid's story. I mean, he's obviously not a kid now.
Yeah,
you know.
No, yeah,
he's 40, 50,
25 years later. But he's I bet he's a legend in the Corps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody will believe him, though.
No, that's the thing. Nobody's going to believe that shit at all. That's the kind of thing people lie about all the time.
Yeah.
And it's
he's a real deal.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. That would make like a great movie or something.
Oh, I can still see him getting off the plane right now. I mean, it's comical. Both our jaws dropped. We're like, what the fuck is that? It's a Marine. Clueless.
To put a little bit of like a finger on it, I mean, we had this conversation about how you learned so much from that conflict and working over there. Like, what were like some specific like lessons learned that you kind of carried over into subsequent deployments? But whether it's like operational planning or reconnaissance or tactics.
Tactics. I mean, helicopter use. I mean, we were getting shot at all the time. And, we'll do a speedball. They're like, don't you dare do a speedball. You land.
Yeah.
You land as quick as you can. Unload that bird and get the hell out of there, And, just helicopter operations under fire are different than when you're not under fire.
Yeah.
You need to be very competent. You need to know how the doors work. Everything works. You need to know your load plan. You don't have time to sit there and figure it out. And that's the choppers we were using in Afghanistan too, and some in Iraq. So I was a pro at the MIs.
Yeah.
Because then things can lift anything if you got a little bit of runway.
Yeah.
Dimitri, our producer, is asking us to talk about what a speedball is. Do you want to answer that, Erik, or do you want me to?
Well, I mean, that was our resupplies. They'd pre-package a resupply of ammo, food, and water, and essentially throw it out of the helicopter.
It's usually like MREs and water and ammunition stuffed into a duffel bag, right? And the bird just comes down, hovers 10 feet off the deck. They push it out, and then they fly away.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes a very good target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, it's safer to land, drop it off, and then take off again.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of SA-7 problems over there.
Mm-hmm.
And, they weren't competent, which was gold, but there's always lucky.
Right, right. The golden BB,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Totally. I mean, it was comical. 2 or 3 of us could make 300 or 400 of them run away. And that make you feel good. But you're like, wow, what if they actually knew what they were doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would annihilate us.
Yeah.
But they were pretty much all on drugs and just savages.
Yeah.
A lot of savagery.
Yeah. They were doing some nasty stuff at that time.
Oh.
And you guys and the executive outcomes guys did the world a favor by beating them back.
Oh. Unheard of. I mean, you just don't even want to know what they were doing over there.
Yeah. What, you mentioned the MI being an airframe used in both in Africa and then in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you feel as though the U.S. should have given that a harder look, especially like in Afghanistan with the elevation issues, and a lot of our birds having issues with lift
Maintenance
and whatnot? Yeah.
Maintenance. We had no down days with those. One time we needed a new engine, so they found one in a warehouse that had been in a warehouse for like 10 years, put it in. One day we needed a windshield. They flew out to a shot down helicopter, pulled the windshield off, put a new one on, and we flew off. I mean, we had 0 down hours.
Yeah.
Everything's hydraulic, or not hydraulic, cable.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a beast. I think we should have them 100%.
Yeah.
They're a beast. And they cost nothing compared to anything we have.
Yeah.
And if you could fill it up and you had a little bit of runway, you could take off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great helicopter.
So, was there anything in particular that happened in either Afghanistan or Iraq that you want to talk about? Any cool stories, funny stories, anything that kind of like triggers you at times?
Well, what triggered me was that pullout.
Yeah. Well,
that was astonishing.
yeah.
You couldn't have done that any worse.
Yeah.
And I know some of the people that were involved with that, and I'm like, you made that decision? It's astonishing. While we still don't have Bagram, which I hear they're going to give it back, which who knows what that deal is.
Right.
Just incredibly bad. And I've been talking to some of the young kids that were over there during that, and they're having problems.
Yeah.
Because what they saw was atrocious.
Yeah.
And our boys in the Tiger Stripes are the only ones that kept that airfield from falling.
Yeah.
And without those guys, that host nation unit there, it would have been really bad, even though it was pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
So I try to pigeonhole all that stuff. I mean, we had great guys, but I think we lost them for no reason. I've been to too many of the Arlington funerals there. I'm like, this was bullshit,
Yeah.
I wanted to leave Afghanistan in 2005.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not taking Afghanistan. Come on.
Yeah.
You're an asshole to think you are.
Yeah.
And, I'm in to get in and get out, and then just have the grids. Just keep sending JDAMs later. I don't care. But a lot of this stuff I think we perpetrated. So I'm kind of against the whole Ukraine angle and the Yemen angle and all that. I'm like, we're making messes out of the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take their arguments on that. I'll take them to task.
I think it wasn't until we had Frode's ex-wife, that was the first time I think I ever heard the term moral injury.
She's going to be back at
sir.
the end of the month.
Fantastic. Yeah.
With a bunch of people who got the TBI legislation written into the NDAA this last year.
It's fantastic.
She'll be here on I think the 26th. I'll check it out, but yeah, later this month.
But but that was the first time I had ever heard the term moral injury, and I think that is a very good term, or very precise term for what a lot of veterans and people involved with
Correct.
Afghanistan felt with that pullout.
Yeah. It's just, I know you're going to have to do it, but do it like you actually are adults and you plan something.
Sure.
It was just obnoxiously embarrassing.
Yeah.
And gave everybody else a green light. Like if you can't even leave a place, you can't invade it.
Right.
D says it's April 24th is when Kate Rockline and some of the other folks who are involved in that legislation will be in here.
And I'm sorry, Kate, for you're somebody more than Rhodes' ex-wife. That's just I
get it.
We couldn't recall your last name, and I'm sorry for that. But yeah, it's so. What was so? Barring what triggers you, I shouldn't have said that. But are there any other memories that you'd care to share that maybe aren't as traumatic? I'm sure there were good times too, right?
Oh yeah, it was great times. I mean, when you get to work with the guys that are solid, I mean, that's what everybody misses more than any of this PTSD stuff. I think
Right.
is just working with competent guys under pressure.
Yeah.
With real world issues.
Right.
We're not used to just sitting around on a park bench in a park, and I think that causes more of us issues than anything.
Yeah.
But no, there was great stuff over there, but a lot of it was, bookmarked by being limited by their either risk aversion or incompetence or pretty much ignorance.
Yeah.
They didn't know how this kind of warfare was.
Right.
And that makes people scared. And that means, the best times is when the boss would say, hey, come back in a week or two. Roger that.
Right.
I'll find something to do. and you go around and you sort things out, drop off all the phones to a local ODA and do it again.
Yeah.
And, it was just big boy rules early.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't think the boys are having that much fun.
Yeah.
I think there's too many people watching and you're just too limited. But back early, you could actually, be a professional.
Yeah.
And look at a situation and go, this is how we should handle this. And 2 other people agree, you go and do it.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's a lot of freedom. And they trust you for your judgment. I always said that. You're not paying me to do the job. You're paying me to have good judgment.
Yeah.
And, I think we always did a good job there. I mean, you've had plenty of the other guys on here. I'm sure they'll say or have said the same thing. And that's what I remember. There's good jobs, bad jobs, but being trusted with that is always impressive.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. Yeah. When did things start winding down for you personally, and was there a reason that they did?
That was its own special nightmare. So while I was doing all those trips, I was still running those other companies. So, talk about overtasking to deal with your own anxiety or traumas.
Yeah.
I was working myself into the grave.
Yeah.
And today's my son's birthday, but I remember that little jackass. One day, I sold the company in 2013, and 2 days later, I got divorce papers. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? My son walks by. He goes, Dad, you didn't see that coming? I'm like, no, obviously, supposed to hook a brother up here. Been a little busy. And, it just, it doesn't come in threes. It comes in piles sometimes. So I got out of the contracting, sold that company, and just had to rebuild everything, I was a bitter man for a while. Hence, you'll notice that in the book. I admit it. But we didn't understand any of this. I don't even like the term PTSD. It's just when you get disappointed, you don't need to know the reason you're disappointed. But when you work like a slave and then everything crumbles down, you're like, how and why did that happen? But that's just the life lesson. You got to roll with it.
Yeah.
And years later, it makes total sense. Now, I have no problem with it. It was a very hard lesson, but I learned a whole lot to help a lot of other people with.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like fucking near ambush. And just kept running from ambush to ambush.
So let's talk about the book a little bit. I mean, if we can, let's start with your journey. Because we're talking about so many different things, right? We're talking about post-traumatic stress. We're talking about operator syndrome. We're talking about not being around the guys, living on the edge with this pure mission anymore. We're talking about TBIs. There's such a morass, a stew of stuff that's combined. How do you pull it apart? And it's also insidious that sometimes we don't even realize we're going through it, right? Until somebody else goes, hey, that's not normal.
These days I can ID a guy by just looking at him.
Yeah.
And I'll sit him down and I'm like, hey, talk to me.
Yeah.
And I'll get him into treatment immediately. And people I don't know him from Adam, but I can see it like reading a book.
Just like the affect.
Yeah. I mean, it's intuition or something. I don't know, but I can see it in a guy's eyes. They're just dead.
Yeah.
And I can turn them around pretty quick. I mean, I think I can. I'm tooting my own horn. But, I've always wrote books because I hate relearning something.
Mm-hmm.
So in all units I was in, I would write SOPs that I wasn't asked to write. I'm like, I don't care. We're going to write the breaching SOP I wrote a JSOP for 1st Battalion and the 353rd, the MH-53s. Because I'm like, we're a joint unit. No one knows how to do repelling ops or resupply ops or jump op. We just didn't have a manual on it. I'm like stunned. We have to have an SOP on everything. And I've done tons of the weapons manuals because I despise the old FMs with pencil drawn guns. So I redid all that for a lot of the different organizations. But with this one, I took my notes because I don't want to recross bridges.
Right.
And I just kept writing my own notes.
Right.
And I think it kept my busy mind good to go too, but I want to be able to always hand something to somebody else if I don't have time to explain it. So then this thing turned into a beast. I mean, it's 500 freaking pages without one picture. So I just want guys to have a place as a reference book to get the quick on it and then detailed search on their own. They don't have to read the whole book.
So
they can read a couple paragraphs.
Well, and that's the thing is that the book it's not laid out like a self-help book. It's laid out so I can go, in alphabetical order, like and I can go post-traumatic stress. Let me look it up, and then a list of and all the different things. But
that's the book they should give guys when they're ETSing.
I know it's a transition book.
Yeah.
Because in the back, I have all the reference books I read for this. I mean, I read, I don't even know how many freaking books to steal this information from. So I want them to look in the back, find the book, and then go for it. But, I remember a Marine commandant a long time ago said, put your TMs and FMs by the bathroom and more education through more defecation. And I was like, that's moronically simple but true, So they're just like a one bathroom trip vignette of each subject.
And so
if that's too much, I can't help you.
Well, and honestly, that's a good point. Not to minimize this book in any way, but this book is great bathroom reading because you don't. There's no where was I last time? Whether you can just open it up and go, oh, niacin, and just start reading about niacin, and fuck, this might be something I want to look in. It's great for that. It's a great reference.
Our guys are smart, but they still have short attention spans.
Sure.
It's just the way the times are right now with these damn telephones.
Sure.
So, I wrote it that way. And I really wanted to write the real self-help book, but I ran into so many of these that I would need to explain so much, that book would have been diluted. So I wanted to write this one first and writing the other one that I actually wanted to write years ago, on how I'm doing it and what I do today, what I do this week, what I do that month, sit out here and be thirsty.
So Eric, let's if you don't mind, let's talk about your journey. Did you know, at what point did it come to your awareness that whether it was post-traumatic stress, whether it was TBIs, whether it was, moral injury, that something was off kilter?
Well, it was an example I saw. I was like maybe a 19-year-old, in the guard there, and one of the old Vietnam guys took me hunting one day. So we're out there hunting, and I come around and I see him sitting over there on a log, just crying his eyes out. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I didn't know what to do. I just pulled back, waited until he settled down, half an hour later, and I walked over like nothing happened. I had no idea. I'd never seen anything in my life. And he was an old 101st and SF guy, hard fighting guy, Hamburger Hill guy. And I never saw it again. And then one day I took my son hunting. He was like 1 or 2, and he fell asleep. And I broke down like a bitch. And I'm like, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to talk to the old guys. Mm-hmm. Said, hey, what the hell is going on here, man? And I didn't believe him for a long time. But it's just, there's no easy way. You're in it or you're out it.
What did the old timers tell you? I think it's very interesting because of their generation and they didn't have access to all the treatments we have.
Right.
The way they looked at it or dealt with it and lived with it is maybe a little bit different than us. I'm just curious to hear what you learned from them.
It wasn't anything I would give as advice. Just suck it up. It'll get better.
Yeah.
Drink.
Yeah.
Ignore it. No, it was horrible. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they had no way to deal with it.
Right.
You know, here they had the VFW where you had cheap beers. Well, that's a great idea. Let's all have issues and then go drink until we're littered and not spend much.
And we talk about the moral injury of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, but regardless of that, we live in an age where, probably because of the shame of the way Vietnam veterans were treated, everybody, regardless of whether they believe it or not, everybody is very quick to say thank you for your service, right? So when you talk
That means
about
nothing, though.
when you talk about Vietnam veterans, you're talking about that wasn't a thing, and you want to talk about moral injury. You're talking about coming back to a culture that was very against what you were doing there, and
Correct.
and even if people were against what we were doing in Iraq or Afghanistan, they still want to. They don't want to. It's not personal. It's like, no, thank you. I appreciate what you did. I just don't agree. But they didn't even have that, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it had to be the worst.
Yeah.
Had to be the worst. But I don't like the superficial stuff. I mean, I've had a lot of people go, Eric, what do you need? How can I help?
Right.
Those are the supporters you need.
Right.
You know, and I've been amazed by that.
Right.
You know, and I've gotten a lot of my buddies help that way. You know, I'll call those same people up and go, hey, I got a buddy. This has to be done, and they won't even flinch. They just, what does he need?
Yeah.
You know, so it's so much better now. And part of the pisser is, I mean, there's 45,000 veterans organizations now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, where does the guy even go? So that's
Right.
the part I have to write a little better in the book. I'm going to do an annex on it.
Yeah.
Because where does the guy start? You
Right.
know, and most of these foundations only do one thing.
Right.
So if you don't need that one thing, they don't help you. I'm
Right.
like, well, that's the wrong answer, you know. And in the front of the new edition of this, I put in there like, hey, if you're going to help guys, this is how you have to triage it. You know, just don't do it to feel good.
Right. So let's talk about, if you're okay talking about it, let's talk about your journey and the triage, because again, we are talking about post-traumatic stress and TBIs and
Yeah.
like there are so many different things going on, right? And how, we talked about, how many door breaches we've all eaten on these direct
Hundreds.
actions.
Hundreds.
Just and the effect of that TBI, and where does the TBI end and the post-traumatic start, and how do you pull it apart, and how do you treat this not only multi-symptomatic but multi origin, right? This multi cause.
It's complex.
Causality.
It's very complex. So
Yeah.
and that's where there was no path, you know.
Right.
And that's where I've kind of guinea pigged myself on so many of these different modalities as kind of a reason to keep kicking, you know, because you get wore out. Because some of these modalities, if you get them out of order, it actually is worse than if you didn't do them, because it gives you hope. And then it doesn't work.
Right.
So now you're like, holy shit, I just wasted 45 days in Merck, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and I don't feel any relief.
Right.
It really makes you go, who the hell's running this, you know? So I think what I've been trying to do is to figure out a triage method to teach guys. See, I still got my speech impediment, but I'm going to a different brain treatment center next month for an actual whole month. So I'm still rating the triage protocol. But what I've learned recently, and it's hard to nail that, Dave. But what I've discovered recently is you have to realize your consciousness, and that in my view of what happened is we're just put into this meat suit for this trip. And I think that helped me a lot, going, okay, well, I'll get to do this again somewhere else. I just hope I don't show up in Haiti or somewhere. And it lets you go, okay, I understand. Then I got to fix my reality. How do I change what's good and bad in my reality that I get to choose? And then now how do I fix the body? Because we've damaged it so much. And there's breaches and SPG9s and mortars and IEDs. There's no way around it. You know, you're not toughing out overpressure.
Right.
And I'm finding some of these modalities work, but I think we're doing them in the wrong orders. So that's why I want to finish these last couple and then really be hard-dicked about forcing these organizations to do it in a triage manner. Because these guys have to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's not just, we're sending you to one. You know, it's like some of these, they'll send you fishing for a weekend. It doesn't fix a TBI.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Right.
What do you see as the triage order? Because like I remember talking to one person at one point who told me that they found with veterans the first thing they have to treat is the substance abuse, because that will kill them right off. That's the thing that's going to kill you first, right?
And
then
that's
you
where
get
I've been
into
lucky.
the
I
PTS.
don't smoke, drink. I don't do any of that. You know, I'm pretty boring. But yeah, if you don't do that, you're boogered. You can't get a guy to, because you constant inflammation, and I call it a daily detox. You know, we have so many chemicals in us or heavy metals in us or just shitty food. You can't get the brain to work right if it's constantly inflamed. And I mean, Dave, think how many times you sucked up an RPG exhaust. None of that's good for you.
Right.
You know, I remember a breach in Okinawa one time where we used FLSC, which is a shape charge, but it's lead encased, and it's vaporizes into lead. And I'm like, shouldn't we put our mask on? And they're like, hey, shut up, new guy, just run through the breach.
Right.
I'm like, freaking lead.
Right.
It's yellow.
Right.
And,
Well, I mean, how many times
it
have
took
you
me
run?
2 years to detox heavy metals and chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times
2
you run
years.
shoot houses, right? And like
Oh.
it's not, the fumes and the toxins aren't going anywhere.
Yep. You bang any house, you imagine what you're going to smell in there.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. But I think detox is critical, but that is not cheap. I mean, you have to do a blood detox. You got to do, your muscle tissues, your lymphatic system. I mean, that's where I harp in this book, the lymph system. If we can clean up the lymph system, we won't get sick.
Yeah.
We'll be able to detox quickly. People, I mean, I argue with doctors that don't even understand the lymph system. And I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but that's where I start. And if you can't do that, the rest really doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because if you're in constant inflammation, the brain, you'll create a cytokine storm and you'll just be overwhelmed by emotions that your limbic system is just crushing. You can't function. So how can you make a good decision on who you need to call for help when your limbic system is so out of balance?
Right.
You have to have somebody walk by and go, hey, stop.
Right.
Let me help you.
Right.
And we're bad about that. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, and I think that for a lot of people that all of the things that is affecting them are also the things that keep them from, like, getting help, right? That you might have resources or you might have people to reach out to, but
they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had to intervene too many times.
Yeah.
Because I wish somebody would have intervened with me.
Yeah.
And grabbed me by the hair.
Yeah.
Because I had tons of my buddies and your buddies too, Dave, that we worked together for years and nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew something was wrong, but we all just let everybody go.
Yeah.
Because we're tough guys. And I don't do that anymore. I'll set somebody down and say, hey, this is what I think. And if you blow me off, you blow me off. If not, we start working on it.
Yeah.
I'll find you help.
So what was it for you? What was there a moment? Was there a thing like did somebody grab you? Were you how did
correct,
you
yeah.
What happened, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I was training a great client out in Montana. Every summer I would teach shooting out there. She's like a Katharine Hepburn type, you don't mess with her. And she come down the range one day and I was gonna do some shooting and she goes, You're not okay, Erik. I said, oh, I'm fine, ma'am. She goes, Erik, shut up. You're going to go see my doctor in San Francisco. figure it out. And I went down there and full boat, whatever he needed was the order. And it took me weeks to just start the detox program on the heavy metals and doing the brain evaluations and doing the, my balance was boogered up, center of gravity was off. Just so many things we ignore, and we make up the difference and don't know that it's bad. And it was just very realistic. And one day he gave me this little gel pill to put under my tongue. He goes, come back in tomorrow morning, put that in your tongue tonight. I said, okay. I come back the next day. He goes, how you feel? I'm like, dude, I feel really weird. And I go down through these symptoms. And he goes, Erik, I hate to break it to you, but that's what normal feels like. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, when's the last time that happened? I'm like, can't remember. He goes, okay, well, this is going to take a little longer. And it was oxytocin.
Really?
Yeah. So that was about as
jarring
as you can get.
Just the natural bonding chemical of the brain.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that got me on it. I mean, that's Dr. Azzolino. I mentioned him right up front of the book. Thanking him for teaching me all this stuff and putting up with me, because I was a bear back then. I mean, I was rough. And he has some great modalities, but he's only one man.
Sure.
But he has a great clinic out in San Francisco, and he'll tune you up quick. I mean, I just sent one of my buds out there that had some Dane Bramage. You don't remember the old Saturday Night Live with that one, but Dane Bramage, and miraculous change in 2 weeks. Just incredible improvements.
And so how did the book come about? Like, you must have reached a point in your own treatment that you felt like you wanted to share some of these experiences with others, right?
Yeah. As I said, I always write everything down, whether I publish it or not. Who knows? I've got tons of books I've never published. They're for me, and if I have a friend that needs that information, I'll give it to them personally. But this one, I just wanted. There's so much out there, but I don't see it in one place. Mm-hmm. And I think that's annoying. So, I've always had a book team to back me up. I contract them, so they know when I hand them a pile of something, they're going to come out with a book. And I said, we're doing this one. And I would love to illustrate it, but I just keep writing more subjects. I think the subjects are more important than an illustration. So, I just want, you can grab one book, and hopefully as a veteran or someone of that type can see the subject they need to learn about, and then start peeling the onion.
It's awesome. Where can people go to find it?
Oh, it's on Amazon. Yeah, It's Amazon. Yeah, easy to find.
The book, again, for those of you who may not have caught it, is Fire Support, A Veteran's Guide to Health, Healing, and Life Beyond Service. Looks like an FM. It's, it's very familiar territory for many of us. We have it linked, right?
Yeah, the link will be in the description.
So you talk about. I know I don't know if you want to talk about what we did before the show, like the thing that you felt helped you the most. But how do people pull apart, or where do they start when it comes to, is this post-traumatic stress? Is this TBIs? Is this like, I'm feeling like this, whether it's, I can't get out of bed, or I'm going to pull this dude out of his car, for honking at me. Like it comes in a lot of different ways, right?
Yeah, I've done all that.
Yeah. But where would you say people start, men and women, who are, and, civilians go through a lot of this too. Maybe not, obviously they probably don't have a lot of overpressure injuries, mixing in with that post-traumatic stress. But where do people start? Like when they...
I think relationships. I mean, those closest to you see it,
Yeah.
but they don't know what to do about it.
Right.
I mean, I used to all the time. I mean, when I was coming back from those trips, I would always force the office to let me stay in like Romania a week or Germany for a week so I wouldn't go straight home.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it. We were going home far too quickly.
Yeah.
World War II, you know, they take a ship back. They see you in a couple months.
Yeah.
But nowadays, hindsight, I saw it all back then, and the folks that worked with me saw it too. But once again, it was like that Vietnam mentality of it'll work out, or you know, he's just cranky, you know, and that's not it at all. You know, that's the beginning of it, and you have to identify that and go, okay, hey, what's causing that? But if you're doing that and it's a malfunctioning limbic system, you're not consciously doing it.
Right.
You know, and that's why I don't fault guys for that. You know, I'm like, they're not doing that on purpose.
Right.
Who the hell would do that on purpose?
Right.
And that's the harmful part, that, you know, it takes a long time to rebuild those relationships once you get better. But they have to realize you didn't wake up saying, hey, I'm going to be a cranky asshole today and piss everybody off.
Right.
That's just not normal. Hate to break it to you. You know, I perfected it, but, you know, it wasn't on purpose, you know. Hell, the name of the company was Blackheart International. You don't pick your own call signs, you know.
Right.
So you figure that one out.
That's the BHI that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, aren't these Blackheart International?
Yeah, that's my books right there, man. Where'd you get them?
Yeah.
Those are old ones. Oh, those are ancient, dude.
Hold on,
That's
I
like
pulled
Model
my,
1.
My earplug out.
Yeah, that's the old models, man.
Sorry, Eric. I had to plug myself back in. I love these manuals, man.
Yeah. No,
These
I
are
did
great.
those a long time ago.
Dude, these
I've
are
got
like
40 of them out now.
Are there really?
Yeah, I did
That
all
you-
the weapon
that you've done?
systems.
I got the RPG, the PK, the AK, the Makarov, and the Dishka. These are like the
Dave.
best manuals out there, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was you.
Dave, those are the ones Texas made me write in 6 fucking weeks.
These are great, and people can still find these out there.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
They're Jack, I've probably got 40 of those now. I mean, I'm down
shit.
to all kinds of little handbooks. Panona and I did a bunch of the little flip handbooks for like M4 Glock and all that. And
Dude,
they used to sell by the bushel.
I'm gonna go look for them.
Texas sucked ass, though. I'm just,
Yeah,
No. Dave,
the-
you know how many copies they bought? 1 set.
seriously?
What
They're
dicks?
using the same set still.
Dude, for folks out there, like I've been through all the FMs and everything myself, and including the newer ones from Special Warfare Center, which are not bad, but those ones, the Blackheart International ones, are the best. Like legit, full color photographs, easy to understand instructions and diagrams. They're the best ones made. That's no bullshit.
Yeah, I just got tired of all the bad ones out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I have a camera. Watch this. And I owned all the guns because we used to teach a lot of the foreign weapons courses. And, those are great books, man. I like them. But, we did a full NATO set and a full Comblock set.
Fuck yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to go look
That's
for
like
them right
Model
now
1,
after we
so
get out of
keep
here.
those.
Super cool.
I'll send you some more.
Okay. What else do we want to get into?
No, so, you know, you're on an 8-day water fast. Tell us, or
Yeah, sorry,
you're
I was
on a
having some
10-day.
dinner there.
Yeah. No, but you're on day 7 or 8 of a water fast that'll last however long. Tell us about that. Tell us, like, in terms of what you've learned, what do you think the top priorities are? Because you've talked about detoxing, you've talked about, you know, all this shit in our lymphatic system and our bodies that we've been exposed to. And again, like we're talking about veterans and vet adjacent people right now, but this is good for the general population, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm going to turn that book into a general pop book too.
yeah,
I just, want to focus on the guys first.
sure,
But all the civvies are like, hey, I want this. I'm like, a human is a veteran too. So
sure,
you can use it.
sure.
But my daughter had cancer when she was 1. She had eye cancer. So that's when I really went down the cancer rabbit hole. So that taught the detox and all this and that. But fasting is the ultimate detox. I mean, your body, when it's not eating bullshit or any food, it will eat up anything it doesn't need. And I'm hoping, damaged parts of my brain. That's my newest guinea pig. That's why I'm on this one. Because I did a SPECT scan, which scans and shows the active and non-active parts of your brain. And I'm like, the doctor had explained it to me. If those damaged parts are still up there and you get some type of trigger, it'll cause a cytokine storm up there to once again take over your limbic, and you're kind of out of control to a point. That's
Right.
where these people have these super issues. But I'm thinking, well, through autophagy, if we can eat those up, they won't be there.
Right.
So I'm kind of sucking this up to see if I can make some of that go away on my next brain scan.
Right.
I'm getting one next month. So as I said, I guinea pig myself all the time.
And particularly
What?
with, I mean, if we're talking about other parts of the body, autophagy is one thing. When we're talking about the brain, though, and neuroplasticity and the idea
Yeah,
that the brain can
totally.
create new pathways, then
Yep.
the brain, like autophagy in the brain, potentially is great. Potentially has a greater result than anywhere in the body, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we all have fat we don't need, but we all have scar tissue. We all have everybody has some kind of cancer tumors in, they may be microscopic, but you can eat those up.
Right.
A buddy of mine had breast cancer, and I put him on a pretty rigid 2-month thing. And by the time he got to the surgery, the tumors were gone.
Yeah.
They still butchered him. I'm like, okay, good job. But no, I've got some modalities that people are like crazy about. The radio frequency stuff, totally believe in it. Seen it work. The Royal Rife machines, totally works. You can kill most diseases and cancers with the frequency. That's a Havana syndrome and all this. They're like, oh, we don't know what it is. I'm like, you liars. We invented this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
invented all that. But detox, man. I mean, fasting it clears your mind. I mean, my mind gets hyperactive after day 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It kills all the parasites in you. Everybody's like, what parasites? I'm like, your dog and cats get parasite medicine, right?
Yeah.
Or why are you special? So, no, I feel light years better after a fast.
Yeah.
It's just good to do as a maintenance,
Yeah.
Someone told me, and I was pretty skeptical of what he told me, but now I'm listening to you, maybe he was onto something, that fasting is actually a way to head off Alzheimer's disease.
Of course, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's because you haven't detoxed enough and you got plaque up in there. Well, I totally think so. It's people who's never why does it happen later in life?
Right.
It's accumulation. We are a filter. Our whole body is a system of filters. If you never clean a filter and your car's 75 years old, how's it going to run on Iraqi gas?
Mm-hmm.
It's no brainer. I totally believe it to be
and
that.
especially considering that for many of us, half the food that we eat isn't even food. It's not even real
Correct.
food.
You
Right.
have to change that.
Yeah.
Got to eat whole food, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I we all love it, but it's not good for us. We have
Yeah.
to eat the whole foods. Don't go to the inside of the grocery store. Stick to the edges. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Treat it like fuel, man. Don't treat it like entertainment.
Yeah.
And go straight Korean. You can't be. That's about as keto as you can get.
Korean.
But just think of yourselves as filters. You do a liver flush. You do this and that. When you see the results, you got to go, man. Something's got to be there. There's just no way that's good for me.
Yeah.
If I don't clean it out. I mean, we can get quite grotesque into this. I have many examples, but you got to do that spiritually too with some of these plant meds.
Yeah.
I've never done any dope in my life. And then I went straight to ayahuasca. I'm like, holy shit, jumping right in.
Yeah.
And that got rid of a lot of stuff. You have no idea what it is,
Yeah.
Past traumas and this and that. And I saw things that broaden the horizon, and then when you get into DMT, that's where you're going to learn your consciousness. I mean, I wouldn't believe people of what I discovered doing that. And
Yeah.
it helped immensely. But you got to go to the proper practitioners. You can't be just making this shit up in the back alley.
It can't just be at a rave somewhere.
No, pretty sure.
Yeah. It's fascinating stuff. I mean, so in addition to the book, is there, are you on social media? Is there any place people can follow you, follow your work?
Not really. I mean, I'm on Instagram, but just to pimp the book.
Yeah.
I loathe all that stuff.
Sure.
And, no, I don't keep up on any of that stuff. But I'm on there per se. But I still have the websites, for the books. And if somebody does want something done that want to pay enough to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Just working on healing and helping other people right now. I started a foundation, really haven't got it running too hard yet, but I kind of get tired of some of these foundations that will only do certain things for guys when they need 5 other things.
Right.
So when I get money in there and a guy needs 5 things, I get him 5 things.
Yeah.
Not just, well, we only do this one. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So that's kind of like what I'm up to right now. And I haven't really had time because I've been dealing with a bunch of my TBI stuff. And, but as I get time, I'll do a lot more of that.
Yeah.
And the book is on Amazon, and there'll be a link down in the description for anyone who wants to check that out. Anything else we want to jump into?
No, Eric, it's been awesome, man. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No, we deeply
I'll come up to
appreciate
New York one day. I'm not a fan of New York, but I'd like to see you guys.
Yeah, man, please do. We'd love to have you.
I'm not a fan of New York either, so.
I remember.
Got a couple
Get you a
questions.
helmet, Dave, to ride the subway.
Yeah, I
Got a
know.
couple-
No
we
shit.
got a couple of viewer questions for you, Eric.
Oh, geez.
They're not that bad. From Matt, what is your proudest moment in your life? And thanks for coming on today, he said.
Oh, man. There's a couple of them, but I obviously can't bring them up here. But I learned out, they're like, hey, we just briefed a POTUS on what you guys did. And I'm like, what's a POTUS? And that's how hillbilly I was back in the day. So, I mean, there's some great ones, but, not for this podcast, but one day maybe.
All right, one more question. What's it like building and selling a government contracting company?
Well, I would have done it a lot differently. I would have had a board of advisors, and I would have cashed out 10 times more. But back then, I was so hard-headed and so correct that I didn't listen to a lot of smart people. I did okay, but, I could have done 10 times. Just look at Mike Knoll there at Blackwater or Blackhawk. Mike had a great team. He was always one to answer the phone if you called, and he'd tell you anything you need to hear. But he cashed out at 180, and a great guy doing it. He didn't have to cut throats. He didn't have to, be corrupt. Ran a good business, but he had really good advisors. So, hindsight, crystal clear. I didn't have enough smart guys going, Eric, stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it. All done on questions. I hope people will go and check out the book. I have to go and start searching for your manuals again now that I know that they're all out there. But thank you, Eric. Really appreciate this interview.
Yeah, no, thanks for dragging me out to do it because I was kind of dragging my feet a little bit.
Yeah, hell yeah,
The D
man.
stayed on me.
Well, you come through New York, we'd love to have you. You come on in here and we can shoot the shit a bit.
Yeah, I got to see if I got any warrants up there first, but yeah.
Yeah, you might want to check that out.
I know some people. Well, we can maybe we can fix those.
Yeah, please. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, brother.
Erik.
We deeply appreciate you, man.
And thanks everyone who joined us tonight. And we'll see all of you guys next time. We got 2 episodes coming up on Wednesday. I don't know how they're going to be released. D will have to work on that, but we got more coming for you.
We're working hard over here, so like and subscribe.
Hey guys, it's Jack. I just want to talk to you for a moment about how you can support the show if you've been watching it, enjoying it, but you'd like to get a little bit more involved and help us continue to do this. You can check out our Patreon. It is patreon.com/theteamhouse. And for $5 a month, you can get access to all of these episodes of The Team House ad-free. The same goes with our affiliated podcast, Eyes On, with Andy Milburn, Jason Lyons, Mick Mulroy. That one, you will also get all of those episodes ad-free. And you support the channel and the show, and we really appreciate it. The Patreon members are literally what has helped this company, this small business survive, especially during our early years. And you are what continues to help this thing going, even as we navigate the turbulent world of YouTube advertising. So we really appreciate all of you guys. There's going to be a link down in the description to that Patreon page, and there is also going to be a link to our new merch shop. So if you guys want to go and get some Team House merchandise, we got stickers, and we also have patches. And I should mention, if you sign up for Patreon at $10 a month, we will mail you this patch as well. So we really appreciate that. But they're also for sale on the merch shop. And additionally, they got t-shirts up there, water bottles, a tote bag, coffee mugs, all that good stuff. So please go and check them out and support the show. We really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.